What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Rich, back for another NBA Best Bets presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook, your trusted sportsbook for the past 25 years. 8-game slate in the NBA today, and some phenomenal data that I'm going to be sharing with you about the slate. We're going to get into some over-unders, some spreads that I really like, and a lot of great bets. But let's not waste any more time, and let's get into it right now. All right, so as you can see, pretty solid slate in the NBA today. We have the Indiana Pacers headed to Detroit, Miami, and Cleveland. That spread was 2.5, and we will be talking about that in a little bit. But I am going to start with Milwaukee and Boston, because for those of you who remember, it was either last week's show or the show 2 weeks before that one. This total right here at 225.5 is a flying. Absolutely flying. And I'm not really sure why. Because here's the really weird part about this total, right? So the Milwaukee Bucks are headed to Boston. All right, cool. Heavy dogs. This spread was 8.5. It's been 8. It opened at 6.5. So it's moving around a lot still. But the total opened at 223 and has risen to 225.5. Okay, so the total is rising. But the reality is the Milwaukee Bucks, when they are underdogs, 9-2 to the under on the entire season. 9-2 to the under on the entire season. When they are on the road, it is 8-0. 8-0. And if you remember, I talked about this when they went to Golden State. They scored 92 points in Golden State. So I don't know what it is about Milwaukee. I'm not going to say they wilt in prime time or they wilt against the big opponents. It's just like when they are underdogs, which, usually you're playing a better team than them when they're underdogs or they're on the road. Doesn't matter what the spread is, and this spread is one of the bigger ones they've had on the season. They tend to go under the game total. And so, again, in Boston today with the rising total, you can potentially wait on this a little bit, but I am going to be taking the under here at 225.5. Maybe we can get a better number later in the day, but watch this line because for whatever reason, it is rising up quite a bit, and that could be the difference whether you win or lose. But the reality is the data is telling us to take the under on the game total because whenever Milwaukee plays a team on the road and they are underdogs, it has gone under more often than not. As I mentioned, 9-2 to the under when they're underdogs on the entire season and 8-0 when they are on the road. So it's a phenomenal data point, phenomenal number. And while the total seems so low for Milwaukee and Boston, it actually is a pretty good total. And if it continues to rise, we may get an even better number. And you can see already this line is moving. This was like minus 111 a few seconds ago. Now it's minus 107 to the under. So this line is going to be changing a little bit, but just look out for this total. Maybe the 225 will be the highest. I already took it at 224. So again, a little bit of a rise even from that, and we'll see where it ultimately lands. But 225 is a pretty high number, but I'd still like it even under 223. It's low, yes, but this is the trend from Milwaukee and has been for the entire season, and that's not going to change. So let's take the under here as my first best bet because I think it really is a phenomenal play. Now we're going to go to Miami and Cleveland because this one's really tough for me. I'm going to be taking Cleveland -3. The main reason why, honestly, is when you look at how Miami has been playing, they've basically only beaten Detroit in March. In the entire month of March, they have 4 wins. 3 of those wins were against Detroit. The other win was against Utah. You look at their last 2 games they've played, they've scored 91 and 88 points against Denver. Okay, you scored 88 against Denver. That's fine. They're a great team. But they only scored 91 against Philly, and they lost 91-97. Now they have to go into Cleveland, a team that does play great defense, kind of not the same level as Denver potentially, but definitely still play phenomenal defense. Cleveland has been scoring 98 plus points since the All-Star break. So just that spread alone tells you there's a pretty good shot they could cover it. And so I'll take the team that's just beat the New Orleans Pelicans and the Indiana Pacers over the team that can barely beat a team that isn't the Detroit Pistons in the month of March. So give me the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is going to be an ugly, ugly, ugly game. As you can see, 204 point over under 3-point spread. It'll be like 100 to 103. It's going to be gross, but I do think that Cleveland can win this game fairly easily. They're just playing much better than Miami right now, especially the way Miami is scoring. They will play great defense, but defense will come from both sides because we know that both teams can play great defense. So that is my next best bet. So we have the Cleveland Cavaliers -3, and we have the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks under 225.5. And the last pick that I'm going to, oh man, gross one. Oh, this spread's getting wider though. Okay, so let's talk about it. The Los Angeles Clippers and the Portland Trail Blazers are playing tonight. The Blazers are 12-point underdogs. I really like the Blazers here. And the main reason why is when you look at the history on the season for the Clippers, they've only covered one double-digit spread the entire season. Now, it was in the month of March against the Wizards, I believe, on the 1st. So it's fairly recent, but when you look across the entire season, they're 1-9 covering these double-digit spreads, and they've only won one of their last 5 games. Now, again, Portland's a different animal. They are really bad. They're probably going to beat Portland, but doesn't mean they're going to beat them by 12 points. This line opened up at 11.5. Now it's 12 on Pinnacle. So you're getting such a wide spread for a team that isn't really covering these big numbers. Could they against Portland? Sure they could. But there's also a game this season where they only beat Portland by 5 points. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's like you're betting on a team that, yes, they are bad. Yes, they're not covering a ton of spreads. I believe it's 2 in their last 5, but they're playing a team that isn't playing good either. And so you look at the Clippers to be 12-point favorites on the road when they can barely buy a victory right now. It's a get-right spot for the Clippers, but ultimately the spread really does lean in Portland's favor. They are probably going to win the game, but Portland can keep this closer than 12 points. And even if you want to look to what they've done recently, they've only covered the spread in 2 of their last 8 games, while the Blazers have covered in 4 of their last 8 games. So I think there's a lot of data to support the reason why you would take the Blazers here. It's not a sexy pick. It's not a fun pick, especially if you watch the Blazers, because they are not that good. But I do believe they can cover the 12 points. I think this is a really, really good bet. So for me, these are the 3 that I'm looking at today, and I think are all phenomenal selections. The Miami Heat are not covering the 3 points. Give me Cleveland to cover the 3. I'll be taking the under 225.5 in the Milwaukee and Boston game. And give me the Portland Trail Blazers, baby, to cover the 12 points at home against the Los Angeles Clippers. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow me on Twitter or X at @YaboyJRich, and make sure you're following Pinnacle across all of our socials. Good luck tonight, and as always, bet smart and bet Pinnacle. I'll see you guys next week. I'm out. Peace.